and Breakdowns.
Welcome back to the Chill Sounds and Breakdowns podcast. We are on episode 77. This one's the actual 77. I messed up on the last one, but I'm excited. We got a full house today. It's been a minute. It's been a minute since we had a full room today, but we do, and I'm excited because I actually just got to see this band perform for the first time the other day, and they're new into the game, but they're hitting it hard, so I'm excited. But today we have Cutthroat, and then today, who we got right now?
I'm Nick. I'm playing guitar.
I'm Mario. I just yell.
I just yell. That's a good description for it. Man, so I'm just really, and again, what I was saying, like the whole band is here, like so everyone's off to the side, and we're gonna talk to them too. But yeah, I just need to know, man, like because I've kind of met I met Nick like a long time ago with like bands and stuff like that back when I was playing in Under Oblivion. So it's been a minute.
Under Oblivion. Shout out
Shouting out to Dan. Anyways, but and yeah, you were playing then, but like how did this whole dynamic get into it?
Well, man, I was in a band that, we were trying to start up, like, I guess it was like around the COVID year, which was like 2020-ish. So like, we started to write stuff, and then that didn't really want to take off too well, so we kind of I got hit up by Ian and his boy, and I just started writing with them, and I just started to just go forward, and it was cool. It was a different change from it just because I was so used to playing post-hardcore.
Yeah.
And with all the ambient stuff and the reverbs and stuff, I love ambient stuff, but I have a place in heart for all the heavier stuff. So
yeah, so that's definitely what I was gonna say. Like it's definitely a different change from what like I seen you do before and heard. Yeah. So I was excited to see this, but honestly, like I saw the lineup just of like I didn't know, so I just met Ian today, and I just met like everybody, but I've seen y'all around, and like I know like your other projects over here were like Risinger, and I'm like, oh, like I was seeing this
shout out
dynamic,
Risinger, y'all.
Shout out Risinger.
But I'm like this. I was just interested in the dynamic, and then like the first little like song clip dropped, and I was just like, I'm fucking in. Like this is sick. But I was like, oh, this is way fucking different than what I was expecting. But it seems like it's fun.
It's kind of like a long process because I never wanted to join the band.
You did it?
Nah.
What?
Oh, I never done band. I never like. I've always been like into the music stuff because my family, especially my dad, he used to be a drummer for like a Mexican band.
Yeah.
So I always like was more into like drumming. As like I'm the background, I'm like the shadow. Don't see me, none of that. And Nick, when he was trying to like, because Nick was doing two bands. One that he was playing for a while, and then one he was trying to start. And he was like giving me the ideas and everything. I was like, oh yeah, dude, like show me like all the stuff that he had and all that with Ian and like their old vocalist. I was like, oh yeah, there's potential. But like, he was telling me, yeah, but it's like taking forever, like the vocalists they have, just it wasn't working. It wasn't like, like there was nothing coming out of it.
Yeah.
Just empty. So he was like, man, dude, like I like your vocals. Like I think you have some good,
And we were in the car just driving.
Oh yeah. So like we used to go to shows together a lot back then.
That's kind of where I like know y'all. Like I literally started seeing y'all as a parent. Like, oh, they're always there together. Like
so we go to shows and Nick will fall asleep in the car, and I will get upset because I'm like, dude, it's a long ass drive to like
crashed out.
Yeah, so I was like, so I'll just jam out. I'll be like screaming and shit, trying to wake his ass up, but like I'm just like just screaming, singing, whatever it is, and he'd be like, bro, you got some gnarly scream. I was like, yeah, but I'm just doing it because I'm just trying to stay awake.
that's your way to say. I mean, but that's really easy way to do it. Yeah, I've done that too.
That actually helps when you do like the driving test. They're like, if you're falling asleep, there's like one thing is like sing along so you can like
I'll do that awake. And pick like albums that I know like word for word. So I got like at least the next 45 minutes I'm yelling as motherfucker.
So
like,
this is my jam.
Yeah.
So I'm going in. So I was like a little emo kid. So like all I I did was like screaming and singing. Yeah, Nick was like, yeah. So he's like telling me like, yeah, dude, like, just try, and I'm like, nah. I was like, nah, like, I never like had that like, you know, from Nick's already been in a band for a while. Ian, our drummer, like it was them two, the origin. They're already been in bands. They already have like, you know, background and all this. I had nothing, so I was like, I don't know, like I feel like I'll probably just try it because I don't know what to do in the first place. All I know is that I love music and that's pretty much it. But then eventually, like after like him begging and begging, because at the same time like nothing was really like the band, like even to the point where Nick was like he was throwing it all out. He was like, fuck it, man, like, oh, I don't know.
You can definitely cuss here.
Okay, you know, you two don't, you know, demonetize
We're not
us,
fucking
you know?
monetized. That's fine. We're not making any money.
We try, you know,
it costs more money to run this, all right?
But yeah, he was like yeah, my own band. I just decided to leave. Like I trust this new project that I have. I just really have good feelings. And I was like, well, what is it that you're trying to do with this new project? And like originally, which, you know, you say it too, like the sound. So the sound like they originally had was like more hip hop. Yeah. With like kind of like hardcore, metalcore, new metalcore, like new metal, more like Alpha Wolf type of style. Yeah. So that was the style they were trying to go.
Like Sworn In.
And as soon as I came in, I just fucked everything up, man. Like that wasn't really my style. They were trying to make me do it. Even Nick was like, do some rapping, do some. I'm like, that's not me, dude. I'm like,
sorry. Some fast vocals.
Yeah. I was like, I'll try, but that's really not me. I'm more like into like old school metalcore, more like, you know, Elijah or Archangel and all that. Like more like just melodic too. Yeah. I guess like everybody heard like Since My Beloved. So like stuff like old school Under Oath, which, you know, we go to a lot of Under Oath shows. Yeah. That's like one of our top, which we always talk about too. We're like, well, if we can do like, you know, hip hop, hardcore, so like at least kind of like something like Under Oath.
So you found like that common ground, like I'm glad that you at least tried it, or it was like, hey, well, like I'll see.
Even was like that, some compromise. It still took a while though, because as soon as even when I joined, I didn't know if I wanted to like stay in it. I was like even when I joined, I was like, I'm just you know, temporary. I'm not permanent. Like eventually you can find somebody better and stuff.
He was like, what's going on, Mario? What's going on? He was like, nah, you'll find someone better. Like, nah.
I guess because
you need to value yourself. Like, well, this is a bigger conversation. Yeah. Noise Rod presents Sink In, performing at Lola's in Fort Worth September 16th. The high-energy pop rock band is joined by Everyone Dies in Utah and I Set My Friends on Fire. Your local support is provided by New Heroes and Brave Days. Tickets available at noiserod.com. Get yours now to join the fun.
Well, it's because like especially since I was young, like drawing and like being very artistic, it's like you have that kind of mindset where you start something but you kind of like critique yourself so hard that you're not satisfied. And I know me, like I'm never satisfied. Like even like if I were to join, I know I wasn't gonna be all that great. I wasn't gonna, you know, so I feel like I will always keep criticizing myself and feel like because of that I'll just like, you know, start an art project and never finish it, basically type of thing. So I was like, you know, I already feel bad that they haven't been able to like, you know, like they have so much idea, so much potential, but for them to like, you know, flourish hasn't happened because and I felt like, especially me, because even till this day I feel like, man, I'm like very critique. I'm very like, you know, no, better, we could do better.
So I mean, that's the good thing is that that's a good thing to have, and the good thing is that you have a band around you who will help you make that move. It's like, hey, this is it, because everything's short. It can always get better, but will it actually be worth the benefit? Like, would it actually benefit the song? Like, oh yes, like you know, I could have played this part better. Yes, but by the time you put out a song, I bring a story up so much, especially with like Under Oblivion. By the time we put up our fucking like newest song was 3 years old because we were doing shit like that, and then so when the song would have hit the best, the time is gone. You know what I mean? So you get stuck writing the same song over and over, and then it's not good enough, then it gets shelved, then it never gets put out, or it gets put out at the wrong time. So there's a balance between like, hey, I know we can do better, and then another balance where you got to be like, it's good, let's put it out so we can write the new shit, like the stuff where you're getting better, that's what's gonna benefit like your future songs. So there's got to be a moment where you're like, okay, cool, like I know it can get better, but this is as good as it needs to be, like to be put out, to be released, and then so that you can move on. Because then you realize you get stuck trying to redo that, that idea over and over. That drawing, you never finish that project. When if you would have finished that, you might have done 2 or 3 other better things for you, for that project. So there is a balance in that, and it's hard. You know what I mean? Like I talk to, and I bring up so much, so maybe one day he'll finish this project. But DJ like has a solo project that he's been working on for years. That I'm like, it's really good. And I told him like, put it out, and he's like, no, I want to keep changing. And he's been changing it for years now, and I'm just like, bro, like you need to put it out and just
feel like that's like the dilemma we get for like the perfectionist, right? To have
that's
control.
what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like that's what we like, cause like. Well, the band's been a thing for like 3 years. Well, 3 years for
just
you and Ian.
Yeah, where you were working on it.
Yeah, close around like.
So when you were saying like you were ready to throw it out, do you think like you just weren't making enough like progress like forward, or what was like?
No,
what was that mentality behind?
It was kind of like, we always wanted to play shows, but we wanted to play shows that me and Mario would normally go to. Mm-hmm. And the shows that we were going to, they were like a lot of energy, man. Mm-hmm. Just a lot of energy. Compared to the shows I used to play back then, compared to like now, even for the first 2 shows that we've played so far. Yeah. We've had the most energy out of like all the energy I've ever played for. Yeah. And it's like, it was really cool. It was kind of like changing, life changing in a way. Yeah. And, and that's what the push we wanted to do, is to play some good shows and, meet some cool bands, some cool people that have the same kind of interests that we like, and just, hell, man, maybe even make music together type shit, And
I think, especially in, like, the genre community and scene that, like, you're stepping into has been, at least for my experience, has been at the most, like, supportive and cooperative that I've ever seen it. Like, especially like where you see people turning out for, again, like just bands on any single day. Like I said, well, I mean, I'm generalizing, but normally, like we were talking earlier, like if the hardcore community, like if you throw a hardcore show, it doesn't matter what day of the week, like people were pulling up for their people. Like I like that support system that there is.
When we were starting, it took me a while to get it at first, because we started with some other members before the homies Reisinger come in. And it was like crazy, because one person was more into like Animal Jam, like Polivia. Other one was more into like, the hip hop and all that. I was more like old school metalcore. And then Ian just said, whatever it is, I'll make it work. Yeah. Which I love Ian. I was like, I fuck with that guy. Fucking sick, man. But but it was hard, because we just had all different like minds of like I said, like we were saying, we just couldn't figure out what sound we were going for. So like, even like I say the first 3 songs, because those were like the first 3 songs with the other members, that they just sounded very like, you could kind of tell too, which is I was like I don't know, we should be playing this, because you could tell like it sounds so different to now, like the newer ones, because the newer ones I finally get it, like I finally understand, like it just clicked. And for sure it took me a while until like I saw the band Turnstile at Furnace Fest, which that was badass. But like at first I didn't get it why people were going crazy for a band, because I jam and I like the stuff that they were more like old school hardcore punk, but like nothing crazy, not too much breakdown. I just like, like just like kind of like a skateboarding rock song you probably hear, like Tony Hawk Pro Skater. So I was like, it's nothing heavy. So I was like, why these people are going crazy? And as soon as they start, just chaos. It was so violent. I don't know if you've seen like any like the shows, like, like Turnstile is like people were just going crazy, and I was like, what is going on? Like I don't understand. Like what is it? And it wasn't until like trying to really understand like the music of like, I guess rethink how I thought I knew how music worked, until that band just said fuck everything because you don't. And it was basically that, like, it wasn't really like, which I was telling Nick too, or when we write music, like, I don't want to break down just for a breakdown. I don't want something just for something. It needs to make sense, because like just listening to Turnstile and all that, it's like they write their music because it's like a story. It makes sense. There's a reason why it goes too heavy, or there's a reason why it goes it flows. Like, it feels like a flowing song, like a story, which is why people move, that energy.
It's like you can dance, man.
Yeah, it is like a dance. It's like a dance routine. I was like, which I kind of love it now, because then everything makes sense. Like, music is not music. It's not loud to be loud. It's not soft to be soft. It's just, there's a story, which a reasoning behind why each section goes.
So figuring out why, why you're writing something. It's not just like, let's put it in, or like, insert, generic thing here, or like the formulas, when they, what is it, the avocado, where it's like, this is, because that's something like, I took me like going outside of it and looking, I'm like, oh shit, like these songs are apparently different songs, but they run the same. Like it's like, it's intro, verse, chorus, verse, bridge, and I'm like, oh shit, we've written 3 songs just like that. It's a good way to step out of your comfort zone if you really put into purpose why are you writing this? Like, is it just like, I just wrote this, so we're gonna find out a place to stick? Because I've also like tried to Frankenstein songs together with like riffs that people have written. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, I'll look at all these riffs, like, we can make these a song and just try to rearrange them and stuff. But it's different, and it works sometimes. But also looking at, I think that's a cool way to look at it. We're like, okay, we're gonna write this part because the song calls for it, and it just makes for a better flow of that song. I think. NoiseNite is bringing the soulful R&B stylings of Yasmeen to the Posted River East for NoiseNite, August 28th, with support from ViktoriaXO, Igimeji, Southstate, and Luna B. It's going to be an incredible night. Advance tickets are available now at noiseride.com, so get yours and we'll see you there.
Well, the way we ride, or I don't know how y'all feel, but like it's kind of exactly what you're saying. Like, the homies will just like play something random, throw a riff, and then after that it's like, all right, now what? Yeah. And I feel like I'm the one that had to take in charge, because I love music since the very beginning, especially like, my family play and all that, and even my parents, they love to go to concerts and all that and shows. So like, music was always like a big thing. And then my uncle, he was the one that got me into like metal, death metal, heavy rock, old school. So like, because of him, I was like listening to everything, even like crazy. He's the one that kind of got me like As Blood Runs Black, The Black Dahlia Murder, Lamp of God, Who Stank. Like, why? Who was Stank? But like, but again, like, my mind just kind of like accept like all this type of different style music. So like, no matter what it is, you can make a flow out of it. So the guys will bring something, and then it's my job to make everything flow right, everything like a story, kind of
like story. The conductor, and like whenever you doing like an orchestra, we all like know how to play our instruments, but it's coming up with the riffs or what comes next after this part.
Yeah, how to make arranging, like putting it together, because you get like that. So that's one thing that because I did, and it's funny, like you're the vocalist too, but when I was like a vocalist, that's kind of what one of my biggest jobs were, because like everybody would write really cool shit. It's just like figuring out where to put it together. So I think because I was on the outside, I'm not playing anything. I'm just listening to these riffs over and over and over and over. I'm like, you know what this guy was playing the other day, like, would probably go good with this. Like, try that. And then just like trying to rearrange, looking at it from an outside perspective, it's kind of like, I guess, what is the biggest benefit to be like, okay, how do we put this together? How does it make sense and not feel like you just tossed a bunch of stuff together and just like, okay,
Now that I'm thinking about it, and like, I was even talking this to the vocalist Gray Boar when we were doing that show, and like hearing you, it like, also like, you kind of like, since you're the vocalist in the front and all that, you kind of want to like perform something that you enjoy, that makes you like, all right, why am I putting so much energy in my vocals? Because the song is making me like, because I guess for me, especially that, like, I'm anxious and all that, which I'm still am, but like, music really always helped me like get lost. That's my escapism. So like, if they can make the music like make me get lost to it, where I'm not thinking about anything else, but like, I just want to yell because I feel like the music makes me want to like scream or whatever. That to me is like the main goal. Is like, I need to also make sure that the music that I'm like telling the guys to perform, or like what I'm trying to figure out to write and tell them like what to do and stuff, will also help me to do my best to perform as a vocalist. Because I don't want to write something where I'm not performing fully, which again goes back to Turnstile. Like you see all those guys, everybody has the energy, everybody's like enjoying, passionate what they're doing. I was like, that's really it, really.
Yeah.
Like if you're passionate, they're passionate. They're passionate, you know, it's just a current energy. Just
it just goes back and forth. And it goes the opposite. So if you don't have that energy, like your crowd will reflect it. You know what I mean? Like, because I've seen that. I've seen really good bands where I'm like, I love like this band and I like know their songs and stuff, and just see a performance and I'm like, it looks like you don't want to be here, so I kind of don't want to be here either.
Yeah,
like, right now, you know what I mean?
Not to call out any bands.
Here we go.
but like we went to one show and we're like, oh yeah, we like jamming tonight. So we went to their show and we're like, I just like it better listening in the car, to be honest. You know?
Well, you know, like it's a big deal because like it's so easy not to do stuff. You know what I mean? Not to go to a show. Like, yeah, you can do that like every fucking day. But like, if you're taking time out of your day to go see something, there's a reason like why. Even like if you love a band, like if I have a band that I love listening to at home, but I know their live show isn't great, then I'm like, I'm probably not gonna go because I have a better time listening to them in the car. You know, I can do it. You know, I can. But if I know your live show like goes off, then I'm like, oh, I really want to fucking see them, and like that's the whole point, and that's what's gonna keep people come back like to see you. You know what I mean? Like
honestly.
And I think for like, and in smaller bands, I've seen like bands perform live for the first time. Like I haven't heard of them before, but if I see a badass fucking set, it's kind of then I'm like, okay, I'll go home and look them up right away, and then I start like downloading stuff, sharing stuff, and be like, oh shit, okay, like their shit is really good. But it's normally happened, I guess lately, it's happened more where I see like a new band live and I want to fucking go home and listen to them than I discover a band and want to go see them live. Like I like the opposite better because I'm like, holy shit, they're badass. I mean, sometimes it happens where like they don't have recordings and stuff like that, and that's kind of stuff, but then it just entices me more to be like, okay, I need to catch them anytime they're playing, you know? But live energy is a big deal that people like, I think, I don't think everybody because I think, like I said, the community, the scene, and bands that I've seen like really are paying more attention to it as far as like their energy on stage. And at the end of the day, you should be having fun out there. You know what I mean? Like having fun performing. 100%. So it really shouldn't be a chore to put the energy in it because like you get to do that. You know what I mean? Like you are getting to play and like play your music that you write and people are fucking listening to it. And if you add the right energy, then you have people fucking going nuts like for your music, which is like, I mean, the show that y'all just had, you know, the other day, like fucking crowd was going crazy. And so were y'all, you know what I mean? Like I fucking love that. Like I had the most fun because I put a little like recap video together and like the footage. I realized that I got way more footage of y'all because I love that y'all were fucking like going like off and on. So I was like, oh shit, like it's a whole ass section of just like cutthroat stuff that I got. So I might make just the cutthroat recap for y'all too. But I mean, that'd be. But no, that I honestly like. I knew y'all were like had a band. I just didn't know what to expect.
Nobody, like,
and hearing like the show, I just had the fucking
we still
best time.
Even till right now, we're still trying to figure out like most of our like the music we want to put out, like what like the band really like is supposed to be and stuff. Which is kind of the fun part too, right? Because like once everything falls into pieces, it's like, oh, okay.
It's solid.
Yeah, it's like, all right, the path finally, like, you know, show itself. So now it's like going for it.
And you're going to keep building at it. That's the thing. It's like once, there won't be a like, oh, we know what we're doing forever now. It's just like, you know where you're at right now. It's like, okay, this is what I want to write. And that's why, like, that's why you can't stick with the, I gotta write it till it's perfect, because then you'll never move to whatever your next step should have been. So like if you like are like, oh, this is what we are right now, cool, capitalize, write that music, and then like play it live, because like live you'll make adjustments to it, be like, oh, this hits a little better, oh, maybe next time I want, you know, this to happen. I was talking to like the Turf Burner guy, and they were like, yeah, we wrote like that hardcore like project because we like just wanted to have something to people to throw down to. And then like their new stuff, they're like, oh, we're focusing on like going back to like the new metal like stuff and trying weird shit. And I'm like, cool. I'm like, yes, keep doing stuff that stretches your creativity.
Like I said, like when we started this band, it was like they were telling me like hip hop at hardcore, can you do it? I'm like, we'll see. I might, you know, try to move.
I want like the crazy noises.
Yeah. But like the more stuff we're writing, and right now we're even trying to write another song too. It's like we got it more melodic, more like riffy, more like, you know, like, which I love the old school metallic hardcore, or however people call it, metalcore, like old school Under Oath, like very old school.
Nice.
It's just more riff, more melodic, more like that, you know, soft spoken, but also like yelling, screaming, kind of preacher. So, and I'm like, dude, this is like we're getting something, you know, like we're definitely like figuring out. Even though I feel bad because it's like that was an original plan. Like,
no, it was cool.
I think music just evolves. You know what I mean? Like it's just you start off with an idea, but then like it's just off of your perspective. But once you're in a band, you get all those other ones. Especially if everyone's writing. If everyone wants to be a part of the band, because there are bands where like you know one person primarily writes everything and everybody just kind of like plays along with whatever.
For me, for sure, it was that one person that told me something, and like everything changed. And that's when it was like I saw them in LDB, and I haven't seen them in a while, like going to shows in Dallas, because in Dallas there's like a lot of the hardcore scenes and all that. And I was asking them, I was like, hey, I haven't seen y'all going to shows, like what's up? And she was like, no, it's because almost everybody sounds the same. And I'm like, do they? Does everybody hardcore scene sound the same? And then the more I think about it, it's like, oh fuck, like do we sound the same too? And that's when I was like, oh, I gotta like, we have to be different. Then we have to like, you know, even though it's like very risky, like even writing this new song, it's like it sounds like a lot. It sounds like, you know, we could make it just very simple, but I'm like, no, but I don't want to be simple, because then we just sound very generic. Like I really want to push, which I enjoyed hearing a lot of bands, and like I feel like those bands that like push the envelope, like push the boundary, it's like I feel like that's the reason why they're exploding, because they're really trying to, like, you know, they're really risking it all. Yeah,
you know? I think that's the proper way to say, like, it's just owning whatever you want to do. It's very easy to fall into like, oh, this is what I heard the other day, this is what's like popping right now, so let me write something like that, and then you just end up writing, you know, very similar songs, and then you start realizing that like everybody around you is writing similar. When I wholeheartedly feel like if everybody follows like their actual like creative like urges and like, you know, things like, oh, maybe we should try this, instead of being like, I feel like a lot of ideas get shut down in the mind before they ever like get vocalized, because it's like no one's gonna like that. Instead of just like, fuck it, just do it, and then maybe people won't like it, and maybe, you know what, at the end of the day, like, you gotta like it. Like, so if it pushes you to be creative and figure something out, even if you're like later on, because you will 100% most of the time look back at your music and be like, fuck, like that. You know what I mean? You're not either not gonna like it, you're not gonna like it, or you're like, this could have been better. But the whole thing is like, you did it and it got to where you are now. But you gotta let your creativity just fucking go off. Like, you can't like try to fall into whatever framework that is. Because everybody that steps out of it, that's who you normally hear about having the success or writing like some of your favorite songs and cool shit, because they went and did like something that wasn't done before, or something in their own way. And I think people these days, and again, I'm generalizing, sure, but I know for me, I can speak for myself in the fact that like anything that feels like very fucking like authentic to you, like I normally am so like attracted to hearing that shit. It's just like, because if I can feel it being like forced, or like you're like faking trying to do something, like it puts you off. Like it just doesn't feel like you don't feel it. Yeah, it doesn't have the heart that it should. Like no matter what type of music, you can sense that shit. And like I think once you let your creativity just fucking, you know, off the leash, and just let it fucking ride, you come up with some weird shit, and it's not gonna be for everybody, you know what I mean? But there is so many fucking people out there to be fans of every specific thing that you don't have to worry about that. Like the right people are gonna find it, and then you'll be able to play the shit that you actually like, and to people that are actually liking, you know what I mean, that type of music. Because I think one thing that I always bring up in these is you have your friends and people around you that like want to support you, but you also want to find the people that have no stake in the game for you and actually like what you put out because they like the music, not because they like you, or not because they know who you are. You know, because I'm very vocal about like, dude, I support all of my fucking friends 100%. That doesn't necessarily mean that I like everything that they put out, and I'm very honest about that. You know what I mean? But am I gonna fucking get in your way about being successful? No, like, because I don't like, how arrogant am I like to be that's not good. How the fuck do I know? You know, what the fuck do I know? Like, that music is just not for me. Right. Like, it'll find its audience. But you got to be focused on that to find the actual people who fuck with your music. Yeah, like for reals, you know what I mean? And I think one of the ways is just to be, you know, authentically push the envelope to wherever it needs to fucking go. Off the fucking desk, a shelf, whatever, like flip it over. Do weird shit, like do
just
stuff
want
that,
it wild as possible.
Yeah,
you know?
But, absolutely.
I agree with that 100%. Owning it, making like it's your show, own that stage, own that mic, own that instrument, own it all, because then that would be what it's like. I was showing those. I don't know if you saw it too, but God's Hate, when Homeboy did like the whole spread eagle.
Okay,
but because of that, because he did such a crazy like stage dive, but because they were owning that stage, they blew up. All these bands that are like.
Oh, wait, I know what you're talking about.
It's always like,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
You gotta, like, dude, you gotta go and do the eagle for me, bro. Please, bro, please.
He's a big motherfucker. And like, but majestically, just, you know. And, but like, stuff like that, I was looking at it and I was like, look, I bet this band's gonna blow up. Because just like, even though like their music was already hitting, but the fact that they have that energy, like, in the, like, this is their show, they'll do whatever hell. I'm a big dude, but I'm a, you know, it's my show. If I crush you, screw it, you know? Which is, and most of the time it shows, right? And I feel like that's what people want. It's like they don't want to pay just to get something generic, because, you know, if it's the music and that's it, they can hear it in the car.
Yeah.
But if it's interactive, if it feels like
a performance,
like
you know?
Yeah, for shows. Otherwise,
more
people aren't gonna come
active,
out.
like, you know, like the show I went, I don't think it was yesterday, it was the day before, Speed.
Speed. You went to that show, dude.
Rubber Gloves.
Yeah.
Everybody was on stage. Everybody was like stage diving, crowd killing, and all that. And I'm like, dude, like, this will make show fun and worth. It's like, however much money I've spent, you know, worth it, because, you know, I'm over here either beating somebody up or I'm getting beaten up or I'm like jumping, whatever. But it's like, you know, it's like you get something out of it that just, you know, just sitting, like, or just standing up, listening, jamming, which, you know, some people do like, you know, because that's how we were. I guess started when we go in the show. We were just jamming.
Just depends on what it calls for, you know what I mean? Because again, like there's fans for all types, but I think there's something you have to do other than just playing your songs live. And, like, there's gotta those are the shows that I usually like remember. And I've seen like plenty, like, through different genres, and like there's different shows that I'm like, that show was fucking great. Because, like, I mean, I can go from, like, I saw the Foo Fighters one time because I got free tickets, and they played for I didn't realize this, but I watched them play, and we were at lawn, so I was standing the whole time.
Oh, okay.
And I watched it, and I was like, cool.
Yeah.
And they played for 3 fucking hours.
Holy shit.
I didn't know. Like, I looked when it started, and then, like, I looked again when it was over, and I'm like, it's been 3 hours. I'm like, how the fuck did I, like, not notice? And they did a bunch of crazy shit during, but, like, it was interactive with the crowd. They did a bunch of stuff on stage. I'm like, cool. Like, and that's not even, like, I'm not a super fan of the Foo Fighters, but, like, that show made me, like,
it was enjoyable.
Now I would have said, like, oh yeah, the Foo Fighters fucking fuck, yeah. Okay. I've seen, like, on a smaller scale, like, have you guys ever seen, like, Steak Sauce Mustache? So they're fucking crazy, man. Like, their music is very chaotic.
Yeah.
Their live show, music wise, I'm like, cool. I mean, it's cool. It's not my thing. And live, it's one of the best shows I've ever fucking seen.
Yeah.
Literally, like, we didn't have that many people because we got them to come here, and they got an entire fucking room to, like, walk around like fucking ducks, like, not like ducks, like ducks and like penguins, and like they had a whole interactive thing. But the way they hold as a show for like a smaller crowd, that you would think that, oh, this is meant for a bigger, like, you know, up, and it was like they were basically like, fuck it, like whoever's here is gonna fucking get the full performance. I'm like, that's the shit that I remember. So like I don't think sometimes people don't know how powerful that is, of how, like, a good performance will have, like, people talking about your fucking band for, like, ever. Like, so, like, I can tell people for the rest of my life, like, that show was fucking badass. So even if I don't see them again, like, I'll bet I can get somebody else to go see them. And it's just like really cool. Like, and you really need to focus on that live aspect, because, you know, especially right now, even like for y'all, like, I mean, you have, like, right now you've put out one song, right?
Yeah, just one song so far.
So what's gonna help right now are those live shows, you know what I mean, while you work on music. So you got to make sure those live shows are fucking great. And then, like I said, the one that I saw was fucking sick. Again, like, where I'm like, I was like, I didn't not knowing what to expect. I'm like, I know the one song, and I'm like, okay. And then just seeing like the whole interaction with all y'all, energy. First of all, is fucking like great. I just had like a great time listening to that. And now I like am excited to hear like what those songs are gonna sound like when they're actually like out. You know what I mean? So no, I definitely think y'all are doing.
I feel like they're gonna be heavy as fuck. Man.
Hell yeah!
Like, I feel like they're gonna hit hard. You know. We're gonna have like some speed vocals on that shit and just a whole bunch of bass. I don't know, man. It's gonna be ratchet.
It's fucking it's gonna be ratchet.
It's gonna be tight, man.
Yeah. All right, how y'all feeling? Y'all good? You want to switch? What y'all doing?
Yeah, switch.
All right, we'll be right back. We're switching out. Hold on. Right. We're back, and we got some of the other members here from Cutthroat. Here we go. Introduce yourself, guys.
I'm Cody. I play bass.
I'm Drawny. I also yell and do samples.
The samples. Honestly, like, I've been waiting to talk to you because the samples is what fucking, like, I was fucking with hard at that show. I was just like, I saw you set up, and I'm like, is it just, like, is it gonna be synth? What's going on here? I didn't know what to expect because I ran in and I was like, you're just recording. And the sample, I forgot what song. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they're all new to me, so I don't know which. But it was like a transition into one, but...
is that drum and bass you're talking about?
Yeah, and I was just like looking, I'm like, that shit's fucking hidden. I'm like, that's cool. I like it. Again, I think it's one of the things, like, I mean, we were talking about like doing stuff different. It's something that's not commonly put into like, you know, a live band setting, you know what I mean? Like maybe people do samples like on their like backtracks and stuff like that, but having it like done live is tight as fuck.
This was a risk that we kind of talked about.
Yeah.
And we just kind of said, like, we're just going to practice it till we get it. Because I mentioned them. I was like, yo, if we're going to do this, like, we should, like, have in-ears so we're timed up. But we're just, like, we'll just practice
just
until we get it down.
Yeah. You know? Because, a lot of samples and stuff like that, people get lost in, you know, trying to make sure everything's still on time. And, like, we got the in-ears and, okay, you know. But when it's just, like... You know, we did practice it, but it's like when you can just do it like that and like just go off the vibe of everything, it's just it makes it so much more.
Well, it gives a customizable like aspect to that too, where like you can adapt to whatever that crowd is. Where if you're like, oh, I can probably build this up a little longer, then hey, like let's have this moment build a little longer. If someone like, let's say like, you know, someone wants to talk on stage and they're saying something, it's like, okay, like you can drag that out a little bit more or do something, improvise something, but like. And I would say, like, because I used to, when I first did a band, we didn't do clicks or backtracks, and it was, you could tell, like, because every song was played, like, at a different speed. And then we got backtrack, I'm like, this is cool, but we can only play the set one way.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because we had everything planned out this way, so the set ran, it was convenient, but I realized, like, we're playing the exact same set, like, every time. And I'm like, oh, so it was cool in some aspects, but the live, I know every time, like, everything can be done, like, by everybody on stage. It's just really cool. It just adds to that aspect.
Exactly.
But yeah, you also do vocals like in it too, right? And you were fucking wilding out because I remember like you jumped into the crowd. I was like standing there, I was like, oh shit, and it started like moshing and stuff. But again, I think that's something that happens. I don't know if you walked into that like plan doing that, but I feel like the crowd's like going, so like, oh shit, it makes you like want to wild out.
It's the same thing. You know, I've gone to shows and seen the craziest shit are the shows that I remember the most. I want to go there and I want to watch the vocalist like climb the speakers and shit.
Yeah.
So I mean, I did that at the last show. My apologies if that was y'all's bass cab or whoever's bass cab that was, but I slipped back and I said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna jump off this bass cab."
Yeah.
Like, I thought he was gonna hit his like fucking setup and everything. He was gonna go crash, and I was like, "Oh god."
I mean, even Nick has mentioned it. Like, you got to do the rock star shit.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, you gotta believe. Yeah, you gotta believe that. You gotta again. We go back to like owning that shit. You gotta feel like that's your. You know, I hear that. I think I hear it a lot with in like hip hop a lot more, where people are like, "Yeah, do you think like you're the best rapper alive?" And people are like, "Yeah." Like you gotta feel yourself.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's like, yes, I am fucking like good at what I fucking do, and I know this shit. Like because once people see like doubt, if you're like, oh yeah, like I'm okay, then yeah, people are gonna be very fine with being like, yeah, they're mid. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
But if you're like play well and also like that's what you project, then people like want to fuck with you as you at that level because they believe it. You gotta actually do it and make people believe it.
Yeah. And to go with what y'all were talking about earlier, we always talk about this is with the live shows, like songs are one thing, but it's the entertainment business. You know, if you can't go out to a show and feel entertained, like what's the point of going? Like, that's why that live show and just like making sure everything hits and the band is moving and all that stuff, it just adds to the whole experience. You know?
Yeah, it's what you have the most control over, I think.
Yeah.
Especially now, because like that's what you have, basically direct control in practices and everything. You get to design that, like, this is what we are going to do for sure, and then having that little bit of like, this is what we can do spontaneously, like these are the things. But once you're in the moment, I feel like those are the best shows where you yourself are like, I just know it happened. Like, I don't even fucking, like, you come out of it and you're like, I forgot I did that shit. Or like
I still tell Mario on the first show, on our very first show that we played at Rail Club, rest in peace. Didn't know that was going to be the last show they ever had.
That's fucking crazy too. But
there was one point at the song where during the intro he like completely jumped like off the drum riser, but it was his turn to like go for the vocal, so he like really like quick like grabbed the mic and was like, he was like, I don't even remember doing that. I was like, you did it so perfect. It was just like, it
was like, it was supposed to be on purpose. But
he was just like, I meant to do it.
No, I think it's the easiest thing for you to immediately get especially like new crowds like on your side. Like if you immediately come out swinging and just like people, that's what, I don't know, I think that's what people are most receptive to. It's like if you are playing with, you know, complete energy and just not like half-assed, and it comes down sometimes where like, I mean, we've been in bands like for a minute, so there's like times where we're playing like to empty rooms. But like, if you act like it's an empty room, like that's you miss out. Like
gonna
those,
feel like an empty room. Yeah,
and then you miss out on those two people that could have saw you and would have been like, "Fuck, they played."
Let me go tell so and so about them, and you know,
and then you get like, you know,
that could
other
be 4 more people that come to the next show. You know,
it's a really big deal, and it's something that I've. Again, as I've just like gone to more shows and gone over, and now like being part of Noise and like doing a bunch of more shows, it's like I experience it. I'm like, oh, I need that. Like, I need that to be part of like the live show. Like, that's why people are gonna come out. Like, people won't just come out because they love your songs. Like, because they have to love your songs, right? In order for them to just come out and see whatever type of show. But even then, like, there's people who are like hardcore fans of bands.
If you don't give them a reason to move,
they're not gonna. Yeah, they're not gonna. You know, they're not.
Even the simplest, just, you know, just banging your head. At least it's movement. It's better than just
watching.
Yeah.
Oh, that band was cool.
Yeah. So you gotta look in the crowd and you see some stank faces, some sort of reaction.
Yeah.
Like, oh. And I do. That's my face. I'm like, oh, like I always like do some weird ass fucking sound when like something weird happens. I'm just like, oh shit. I think that's because like I was like filming, and then I think I forgot what part it was, but I just stopped and I'm just like, oh, like just mean mugging. I'm just like, yes, like I was just like, stop doing what I'm doing.
I'm about to throw the camera down, just like,
I was like, hold on for just a
I'm about to get in there. Like.
But man, it's I mean, that's just your second show, right? Like,
yeah, that was our second show.
How are you feeling like compared to like playing other shows compared to like this project and like the reception you've been having?
I mean, it's definitely,
it feels huge.
Yeah.
Honestly, he and I have done shows, I don't know how many fucking years now?
For a long time now.
I mean, yeah,
how many years, just the two of us?
You know, he's still relatively new to Reisinger, because Reisinger's been around for a while too. With, you know, along with like our boys in Tooth and Nail. You know, one of our first shows was with them, and he still wasn't in the band yet. But even, you know, like you're saying, like those shows back then, you know, felt so together, and then, you know, COVID hit and it felt like everything just kind of like dissipated. But like now it feels like everything is just so like such a family type of deal, and like these first 2 shows for us have been crazy. Yeah.
I can't, like, that's having a reception like that and them going like that. Well,
especially with only having 1 song out.
Yeah, I get it. Like, that's just gotta feel good, which is great because you want to keep going, and it cultivates like new music. That's why like it's really important to have new band showcases and just like going, and people just going out to shows to go out to shows, because you never know what crowd you're gonna be part of, where that band's like, fuck, like that was great, I want to keep doing this. Whereas if you get newer bands not having as much success and then just like giving it up, like, you know, I bring them up because I think they were just here recently, but the Turf Roader kids were talking about like the shows they were playing before they really got into like this scene, where there was like they were like these random ass shows, and I'm thinking, if they would have just been like, this isn't it, you know, before they hit the crowd that they're hitting now, like none of this cool shit that they made like would have been out. You know, I think it's you need to do it.
So hard. They're so fucking good,
dude.
Shout out
so
Turf Burner. If you don't fucking know them, you better go.
I'm not gonna lie. I think Turf Burner gets the most shout outs on this fucking podcast. Awesome. But I love them so much. But anyways, yeah. So you guys have had like an amazing reception. You mean with Risinger? To moving on to this, what was your? Because Nick was one starting it. How did you guys like become involved?
I mean, Nick's been the homie for so long. We've been around since they had those first like, not the main initial numbers, but like when they were, I guess, a full band. Actually had a practice space practicing. We'd been around. We would just go.
Like chill. Right when Mario joined, like
basically,
we started kind of going to the same practice space, and we are just watching them practice because we were also practicing Risinger stuff.
Yeah,
and
we just help them write and shit. Member changes happened over time. We'll leave it at that. And they needed new people.
Yeah,
and
we're just like,
hey, I've been through here,
whatever. We've been doing it. You know, we love music as is, so it's like, why not only help out the homies, but let's just start something new.
Yeah.
And just see where it takes us.
I think, I love the fact that it was just like this. It literally is just this big ass friend group. Where I'm like, this is.
He calls it the super group.
The super group.
I fucking love that. And I love that.
It's fun. Yeah, it's fun. That's why when I saw it, I'm like, dude, there's a lot of like people who've already been doing like their own shit, just coming together and writing something. And not only as like musicians, but as like friends, which is at the end of the day, like helps just solidify that chemistry and structure, which is what fucking makes bands successful. It's like, if you guys get along, if you want to hang out with each other, not only just for practice, but it gets you to write some cool shit. And then you're able to push each other to write some dope shit. You know what I mean? Same shit. Mario saying like, that's not the shit I wanted to do. But, he starts playing.
Because
even
like he was saying in the beginning, I in my head at least, I was just like, I'll help play bass, but until they find somebody that actually wants to stick around. But then we actually started writing stuff together, and like I was just like, damn, we're writing some good music. Like it just feels good. And I was like,
wait, how the fuck is someone else gonna come in?
I was like, nobody else can. Nobody else can do this. Yeah, it's us. Like and even shout out our old member Josh. He was cool, and he helped us, record the second song, and he's in the music video and stuff. But even then, it's just like it still came down to the five of us, and we're just like,
So the second song recorded already?
Yeah, the second song. Yeah, he was on it. He's still cool, but it's just us.
So what? So when we call in
cut that out,
recording, cut the cameras right now.
The second song is still the single. It's we only have one song.
Okay,
yeah,
but so
I could tell, I was like,
when we refer to it, it's like the song in our set list.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's the second song in the set.
That's all right.
I was like, wait, where's he?
You're like the second song.
I was like, where is this song?
I don't have this.
I'm like, I will cut the cameras, and you're playing it right now. No, but so recording. So you only have the one song recording. Like, so what's your like vision, or what's the plan? What do you think you're going for? Do you think because you already have a set? So is it like record those songs to put out, or do you want to keep working on those songs as part of like a growing set, so where they're gonna keep building on like the songs? It's a
little bit of both. We working on songs, and then maybe like a little 2-3 song demo just to get people to get more familiar with the songs, but then have the songs like, no, you gotta come see us to hear these songs, and they're like, oh yeah, that's you don't know that song,
we want to give them something tangible, something to stream more than just one, but still leave more.
No, I mean, which is, I think it's a really good strategy to give yourself, because you gotta have something for people to go home to. So there is like, I have realized how important it is to how many new bands that I have seen like a really fucking badass show from, and then like immediately like, oh, I'm gonna fucking listen to everything, and then be like, oh, there's nothing. And it's like, fuck, okay. And I like really want to keep up with them, but if I forget to keep up with them, then like they might get lost until like I refine them later or something. So it is fucking important like to do it.
And that's a major thing, is too being consistent, because even if you do have that one song, if you put something out like, oh, couple weeks from now, okay, bet, okay, I was waiting for something, like, instead of 6-7 months down the road, oh, okay, well, they finally put something out, like, oh, well,
So how do you y'all plan like to like actually like navigate and like mitigate that to like have a balance of how do we put out consistently?
Luckily, we record all our own stuff, so it's like,
Yeah, okay.
you know, when we want to, we can just go in and like knock something out and be like, all right, like let's get this out. We got to make sure we keep, you know, consistent. You know,
It's super important, and I like that that's become more of an integral part into bands now, where it's like you gotta know how to at least do something in-house, like especially like at the very least like be able to like get scratch ideas so that you're not going into like studios blind if you're
just writing the song in the studio.
It's nuts to me.
Time.
Like I can't believe that people like used to do that and have to spend the money to like let's write here.
That's why albums were like $1 million back then.
Yes, like it's fucking crazy. Where I'm like, I remember it was like bands were like, yeah, we're going to the album to write it, and I'm like, what do you mean? Like, it's like I have like a few ideas, and I'm like, I don't understand. That's crazy. Like, what if
we'll just let the producer give us the rest of the ideas?
And I think especially like I think during COVID it got super big because like bands that stuck around and wanted to be together like could still, hey, I recorded this. Send it your way, and then you're able to at least get ideas down. You know what I mean? So when you do get together, you're not coming into stuff blind. Because that's what like I think we were getting when we had like Under Oblivion. That was my thing that I was super adamant about. Where I'm like, if we're not practicing like every week or something, and some of us like write a new song, like if I have it memorized and you don't, like okay, let's figure out a way you can take that home.
Yeah.
So like every day, like loop it a few times. So even if you don't have anything written, you at least know what comes after the next part. You know what I mean?
The skeleton of it.
Yeah, because it's way easier to write when you're like, oh, okay, I know what you're going for, rather than just like, oh, let's just go in blindly every week, and then like, or the way we were doing was like, we would write something here like a skeleton, and then just like next week we're like, oh, how did it go again? And I have to like relearn. We spend more time. But I love the fact that people are doing their own recordings, and it's becoming way more like widespread, and then everything's a lot more affordable to get your hands on.
There's
than it
so
used
much
to be.
stuff.
Like it was nuts having it. If you had your own setup, like you had a small fortune. Like if you had like a way to record in house, like it was nuts how much like everything was. And now, like, I love, like, I even think about, like, this setup. Like, I was like, I have the computer and then these mics. I don't even have a fucking, what is it, an interface? Everything runs USB. Like, I'm like, I can do that. Like, I don't need anything crazy. But, yeah, staying consistent with creating, like, music and putting out music. And now, all the additional stuff that you have to be making with, like, videos and, like, just, like, content and stuff like that. I know, like, y'all are early on. Is that, like, anything that you are focusing on, or is it like kind of still figuring out like how to get a band consistency with music?
I think having the 5 of us, it's just every one of us is like just consistently like wanting to do something, whether it's like writing a song or coming up with a video idea or merch ideas or just anything to keep the band in people's conscience type stuff. So and that's why Nick calls it a super group, because each one of us does something that tries to push the band. It's not just one person kind of just running the head of everything, and then it's just like the rest are just like, okay, well, what are we gonna do next?
And I think that's good that you all have that and that understanding with each other, where it's like this is a band, like this is a group effort. You know what I mean? Like everyone is responsible for this band. Becoming more than it is. Like it is. If someone's pulling all the weight and like I'm not doing anything, then I can't be mad if we'd ever reach like something because I could have maybe held some of the part, and it just balances out to where like people don't get burnt out because I'm doing everything. Like I'm calling everybody. Like I'm doing like the social media, I'm writing, and I'm like taking care of it. And then you run like to people like getting overloaded, and then they just get mad. So it's better to have a balance, and it honestly helps you. This isn't like your only band. So if you acquire skills, you have stuff you can take to other projects, and like, hey, like if I learn to record over here for Cutthroat, like, oh, I can do some stuff for Rise, or like have learn how to do some of like your own recordings. Like, oh, you have a buddy that wants to record, like now they record. Like that's why like I talk like Zach from Ballista was doing recordings for like all his friends. Now they run like COTC recordings. And I'm like, no, cause like, that's fucking cool. Like skills just because they were recording their own band. Now they can use that for like something extra and like record a whole bunch of other stuff. Man,
they've been recording some great bands. Crucified demo just came out. Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, Misanthrope demo just came out.
True. Damn.
Yeah.
That's fucking nuts that I think Crucified's playing the first show and they already dropped like
yeah,
their fucking EP. But
We've thought
so
about
good.
recording with all these other bands, because they're fucking great. What they put out and what they help with the other bands, it's all great. But at the end of the day, we want to be able to say like we did it.
Yeah.
All shout out to Ian, by the way.
Ian, he does the recording, mixing, like.
Fucking shout out Ian. He's over there like in the corner. That's why you get the most comfortable chair, right?
He's like, I put all this shit together. Just let me rest.
But and especially with y'all creating the type of music that you are, with everything that's involved, you want as much creative control over it. And I feel like if you record it yourselves, you guys understand what you're trying to put out. Because that was like, it is the most difficult when I think about like working with like, people where you just had to like, before people had it accessible, we were just like, okay, I heard this guy record stuff, so let's go to him. And then you have to spend money to realize like, damn, we didn't really vibe together. Like, and it didn't come out the way I wanted it to, which is why it's cool to have control over it. Because like if you know how to realize each other's visions, and again with the chemistry that I've like seen just throughout, but even just like even now just in the room and seeing how like this is, I'm like, you guys get each other and what you're trying to create, which is so fucking crucial. Because like what you were saying, like everybody has like a different taste and stuff like that. That's fine, you're gonna get that in every band, but if you're able to communicate how you want that to actually like mix, that's your success. But if everybody has different tastes and you're not able to figure it out,
nobody can come to at one point, it's just
a bunch of like you get a bunch of like and like riff salad, or you're just like everybody throws in because they want to, everybody puts it apart, but you want to be able to compromise and actually put out like music. So with this project now that y'all are joined, is there a specific, because you do vocals too, do you work like lyrically, what it's kind of, do you guys work together like with Mario as far as for lyrical content, or what is normally what you write with?
The way I kind of do this honestly is I let him take the lead, especially when it comes to writing lyrics. I'm gonna let him write it. And whatever spaces are filled in, I'm gonna try to fill in those spaces.
Okay.
That's basically how I try to do this. Because at the end of the day, he is the front man. He is the lead vocalist. So I let him take the lead on that.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm just gonna fill in.
A lot of improvised people.
I'm just gonna fill in those gaps, and I'll find my spaces in there. Sometimes we'll overlap on vocals a little bit, but I try my best to back off and let him take those.
Gotcha. Okay. What's the writing look like with a song? Like how does like, is it normally someone that starts with an idea, or does everyone kind of have their own input? It's just
kind of a little bit of everything. Like our most recent song, it started off with just Nick like played a riff, and I was just like, oh yeah, that's a good riff, like that could be a song. And then we made one version of the song, and then Mario was just like, I'm not really feeling it. And then like the other day he like sent me
Mario, you do that a lot. That's what I've been hearing. You're like, nah, I don't like it. No, I'm just kidding.
Even with lyrics and all that, it's just, I feel like artistic, like and see, that's what I'm afraid of, is that I get too passionate, and then when I get too passionate, it's like I kind of need control. Like I don't want something to be something just because,
I got
it's too generic for me. Especially if I'm gonna do vocals, like I want it to feel so. Nick played or.
I was like, Mario, you're on the
And he's like always like,
Get on.
And even like that, he sent me a voice memo, and he was just going like,
just Jack Black the whole thing.
I'm just like, okay, I think I can figure that out. And it's just like, it just keeps like we do it by pieces, but we make sure each piece flows into each other. So it's not just a riff salad, but it's a song.
Do y'all have just like days where y'all just like jam together for like?
Yesterday we're just like, let's just go in, just write, like not even worry about a set, like let's just focus on writing a song.
We had like one song in mind, but we just let it work itself out.
I think that's the biggest thing that I've seen in like with writing. The most successful like time I've had is just like those days where I had the time to spend. That's the biggest thing I think, where it shortened up over time with everybody. When I had a band, it was just like we didn't have those days where we would just like sit for 6 to 7 hours at a time, and it wasn't like all like right, like we would maybe run through our set and then someone would play a riff and then be like, oh, just play that over and over again. And then we just jam. Then we just play random songs. Then we were practicing in my neighbor's garage and they had like a basketball hoop outside. So we would like stop in the middle, go play basketball because it kept us still in the creative zone. Yeah. And but we were still like, okay, let's back away from it for a second. And then literally be like, wait, hold on, I just got an idea. And then we would just like run back in, play again. But I think it's what allows for your chemistry amongst yourself, your creative chemistry to work is like those moments where you are with each other and just like, hey, playing like anything, like, hanging out, making jokes, all that stuff, like just creates a better understanding of where to go.
Actually being a band.
And I think
not just musicians playing music together, because that happens a lot. And it's just like, oh, well, let me just get you because you're good. And it ends up not meshing together. And it's just people just playing music that they're not enjoying.
And to be part of to be an actual part and a member of a band, you need to have that. Like you need to these are it needs to be your friends. Like it needs to be like people that you are actually like hanging out with, interacting with, where it's not like where it's not a job to like we're getting together to practice because we're playing a show and then that's all you're doing. You know what I mean? You're not actually interacting with each other. And I think that's a big thing that gets lost, and whether it be like because of time constraints, because I think it's something people need to become involved with when they're trying to create full band projects, where everybody's a creative force in it, or where most people are. It's like, I think you need that chemistry. Again, like that's something that I think is just completely like obvious, like with y'all in this band. Like it's very noticeable, and that's why I'm fucking excited as shit. Like is what y'all are coming out with. Again, I've seen one performance and heard one song, and I'm in. Excited, you know what I mean? Like I'm in. It's fucking great what I've been hearing. And then Mastermind Ian over here who's pulling it all together. Shout out Ian. Ian hasn't been up here. Like what do you say over there? Ian?
Before we switch, shout out Trespasser, No Way Out. They're the homies. Hardcore.
The end booking, filming.
Yeah. All the homies. Who's that now? That's Bryce from No Way Out. He's the homie. He was at one of Reisinger's first shows before he was in the band, so I've been knowing him for forever. Mm. So he's definitely been a huge help in booking some of our first shows, and he was on No Way Out was on the new band showcase. So
sick.
Definitely the homies. Love them.
Absolutely. Hell yeah. Shout out to all of them.
Yes.
Yeah, that show, every band on that show was fucking sick. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Especially I'm excited when it's like new shit coming out. I'm like, yes, there's still fucking cool shit coming out.
Yeah.
Cool. We're back again with another switch up, and we got old Mario back, but then we got the genius Mastermind Ian over here who's pulling this band together. From what I hear, so we're diving into like songwriting. So I think I get both aspects because like Ian, you help like structure everything and like kind of record everything, and then lyrically, I feel like we were talking before where like you work more as like the conductor. So this is probably like the pairing. Some of the songwriting.
And see, and that's why I wanted. That's what I love about Ian, because he's like very observer. So like as an observer, like even how the music goes, he kind of figure out like the sound and all that. But even that, like I'll go back with Ian, like I'll show him like because obviously see, that's what I enjoy. Everybody's talented, everybody brings something to the table, and my job is like to push that. So I like figure I guess for me especially, like I'm very specific, like how they were saying, like as soon as they play a song, most of the time just like I'm not feeling it.
Damn.
So I just like but
it's like it could take a little bit more.
It's like, what do you think of this? One note? Nah.
But it's more like, and see, that's what I mean. It's like everybody could, like, we have Gerani with the samples. I want to hear more of him. I want to hear more of that, like, crazy. Like, even right now, I bought, like, a new keyboard that he can mess around and stuff because, like, he's good with, like, just, whatever, like how you were saying, when there's, like, a gap that he could just fill it in, he could fill it in and, create more of, like, a whole sound. Nick, he enjoys playing riff, like heavy riffs. So like if it comes to a breakdown, he just comes all in, swinging, bats all in. And then Cody with the crazy fast riff, but also like I enjoy Cody because me and him, like we're very creative, like thinking new stuff, like pushing the envelope. Same with Ian with the drumming, like almost all of us play drums. And yesterday we were like switching because we were trying to write a new song. And so I'll come out with like, so when it comes to writing, they'll play something. And then after that, it's not that I'm feeling, but it's just like, it could be better. So as soon as they show me a song, like, whether it's like a minute or so, I'm like, all right, this is what I'm thinking. Like the drums go, and then like after that, I'll like send one of them like voice memo of me, like like right up. I'll be like, so I want to hear something like, you know, and like literally homeboys, they'll be like, all right, I could see something, and then they'll actually play, and I was like, oh cool, sick, like yeah. And then after that, I'll try to play the drums how like, you know, I envision it, but I'm just very basic. Cause then when it goes to Ian just all out placing like crazy on the drums, like. I'm like, dude, this look like domestic violence on those drums. Yeah. like he's like banging his shit out of it. So I'm like, but no, like again, like, I just enjoy writing it because I enjoy that these guys could really like push more than what I'm thinking. You know, like I have an idea, I have a structure. So I have the skeleton, and it's just up to them to like make it their own, make it like, you know, which I enjoy seeing. Eventually, it's like crazy. It like enlightened me because it's like the idea that I had, they made it way better. It to me makes me excited to like, oh, I can't wait to perform it now because like now I see like, you know, like they were basically the final piece of the puzzle. Like I kind of figure out the most of it, but as soon as they like put the final piece, there's the greater picture, which I'm like, it makes me happy, it makes me more proud, which is why I'm enjoying it more. And then eventually to like Ian, to like, you know, if we record it, he's like, all right, like, you know, I can see like eventually the sound, which he's like the talent, we like really like the challenger guy is like right here because he messed with like more of like the sounding, the engineering and all that, which, you know. So
where's that where's that experience come from? Like how long have you like really like been working on that?
Just from random little things. Like I used to like to record my own stuff just to, as a way to hear what it sounds like, to like hear the song, and so I just gained, you know, a little experience, you know, learning how to record guitar just so I could record songs with guitar. And then I just started getting into learning vocals so that we could produce Mario's vocals for the track and Johnny's vocals. And we were trying.
Sucks.
No, man, they're great. They're great. But
Ian's like, it's not my fault, all right?
No, that's what I'm saying.
I know what I'm doing.
My vocal sucks, but if it sounds good, it's because Ian does some magic. You know, like put a little seasoning in it, and it just makes it, you know.
Yeah, I like to add in a couple little things, but I mean, dude, you see how he goes in live shows and stuff.
So you really just started like just to record like your own stuff and just being able to listen to your playing, like you just recorded. So you play other instruments as well?
Yeah. So I play a little bit of guitar, but it's mostly drums. I feel the way I feel about drums. I like playing guitar. I like music, you know, and I like making like. You know, electronic music and stuff like that, but there's just no other, you know, thing that I feel about the way that I feel about drums. Yeah. So the feeling that I get to be in this band and do that, I'm extremely grateful.
Yeah, drums are like, you need to have like a really good drummer for like any, at least. Again, let me make a correction. I keep generalizing, but the shit that I like has sick ass fucking drummers. Like it just controls like the vibe of that song. Like we were talking about earlier, like it's like a dance and you want to make people move. Yeah. That's what's gonna do it. Like a lot of it is drums and like your bass combination that moves like people. And, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's fucking like.
The interesting thing that I heard from a comment was like the Turf Burner, where they mentioned about the vocalist, Sis My Beloved, about how drumming. It's really like, you know, if you don't start off the drumming, you really don't know where the music goes. And like I said, like most of us play drum, especially me. And like I might not be the best, but like I know the fundamental of the basic drumming. So like the beat, the rhythm, it needs to make sense, which it goes back to like the flow and stuff, which I can't even tell sometimes if Ian seems like something's not going right, it's like, okay, the music's not going right, all right, cut it out, we need to like rewrite, we need to figure out for Ian to, you know, just to make it easy, because, and I guess it helps like for drummer to drummer, like if they're satisfied, if they seem that the music sounds cohesive, sounds like it's flowing right, then I know eventually the music, once we put it out, once we perform it, everything sounds good. That's why for me, like, yeah, the drums, which we're like into electronic, we talk about like, yeah, like, which is why like the song you were mentioning, like I push like drum and bass, like I wanted drum and bass, I wanted, and they were like all look at me like crazy, and I was like, we could do it though, like you know, like, and see, that's the thing, it's that
from Joy.
from
yeah. God
Speaking
damn,
of
they
From
fucking
Joy,
do that so fucking
well,
great.
so From Joy, they were actually like the reason like why I kind of wanted like the hardcore scene and all that. It was until homeboy Nick was telling me like, hey, there's this show, like, well, no, it's because I was telling Nick I was getting into like Vane and From Joy, but From Joy, they're like a small band. I didn't know where they were from, nothing. I just know like I really enjoy like the electronic and stuff. And Nick was like, oh, they're like playing. I was like, I don't even know if they're from Texas. I don't think so. They're new. He was
Houston.
like, yeah. Right? And then like it wasn't until like Nick was like, oh, they're coming at the shop. You want to check it out? I was like, really?
Yeah.
And that's when like the first time we saw like From Joy, Ballista, Kurama, Deep Incision, and that's where like my whole mind, like my whole mind was like, what? And that's when I met Edward, Marco, and then you guys, Noise Run. I'm like, dude, this is. And I told Nick too, like that day too. It's like everything clicked. Everything was like, this is what I want. Yeah, R.I.P. the shop. But like that scene, that's where like I fell in love, and that's why I was like, this was like missing in my life the whole time. It's like this kind of group, this kind of music, this kind of like being free of like just being experimental with like everything you want, like whether it's like electronic, whether it's like heavy, whether it's soft, whatever it is, just put it all out there and like own it. And then if you own it, everybody's just gonna feel it. And that like really helped too, like with the writing, which I feel like there's no limitation. Like if there's a limitation, it's because we're putting ourselves in the box. But like again, like when I was saying like I want drum and bass, like they're like, oh, it seems like, you know, too risky. And I'm like, nah, like, you know, screw the risk. Like we're just putting ourselves in the box, which then we just become generic. If we just get out of the box, then we could be something more than just, you know, the minimum.
Yeah, and it makes it fun. Again, it makes it fun to where you're actually doing new stuff and something
like,
that's
when we're playing that like that beat and everything now, it's like I see like everybody's like really into it. Homeboy's like really fast. And like I always hear people telling me too, they're like, yo, that's so sick when you did the drum and bass with the drummers like playing at the same time. I was like, it's funny, like, you know, they thought I was crazy like doing that, but like but once everybody figure out their place and their like, you know, how to make it sound better, it just like from there on, like that. And like to me that's like one of my favorite songs too, because it was the one where I really said, you know, fuck it, I'm gonna take all the risk. I finally want to, like, you know, write more than just, you know, like how you were saying, like I just want to push the envelope. I see everybody talents, and then I just want to see how much I could push. I'm trying not to be too pushing, you know, like too, like, you know.
I like that one though because that song really pushed me to be really crazy.
And that's you end up realizing it. So that's the thing. Like in bands, you have to be open to be pushed a little bit. Like even if you're risk. Like, this shit doesn't make sense to me. Like you get better. Like you end up writing some cool shit, then you're like. If I wasn't pushed, I would never write some cool shit like that. You know, I wouldn't get there. Sometimes you just need that, and I think like every band like needs to be able to do that with everybody. Like everybody needs to be able to do that to anybody.
Every artistic, every creative person needs to be pushed. Like hearing Marco talk about like I'm gonna quit everything just to pursue like, you know, video and promotion. I feel like every artistic needs to like just risk it all, push it, put it all on the table. And you actually grow something beautiful out of it, you know, once you like take the risk, because then there's more prideful, there's more like, you know, like, wow, I could do that now, like, you know, like, oh, like, you know, we like live so much inside the box, but once we get out, it's like now you see the bigger picture. Now you see like there's like now you're not limited, you're unlimited. You're like, you know, able to go beyond. And that's what I feel like, you know, especially that song. It's like, and then from there on, the more we write, it's like, oh yeah, we could do way more stuff. We could do, you know, just Like, you know, instead of just like nothing but
Now
like.
he can rap.
That's it. That's coming soon. I expect this happening. Hey, that's where they're gonna push you. All right.
Mario drops some bars.
The drop of bars. No, I think
There's still
that's
some
cool.
lines. You
I
know,
think that's where you like. You need to be able to push, and you do create like new things. And again, that comes with that's got to be the next step. That push now unlocks this whole other new area for you to explore and be like, oh, I didn't think I was never gonna try this, but now that I know I did a little bit, and then now you get to fill that new skill up like to the limit, and then get pushed to whatever's next, you know, and keep creating stuff. And I think y'all are doing amazing at it, and y'all are just getting fucking started. You know what I mean? I'm excited as fuck. I know like everyone who's like since those shows and like listened to the songs are like excited. I know I definitely am, and especially like I know like now I know everybody, but like you know I've had like history with like you know over half of the band for a little bit, and it's just really cool to see this project like come to fruition. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you guys so much for coming in today. Like this is honestly like I love doing this, and one of the biggest things is like I just get to talk to fucking like cool ass people, and y'all are definitely like badass, and I love this project coming out. So anything like future like shows or anything you have planned or music?
September 1st.
September 1st.
September 1st.
Yeah, No Way Out.
Ghost House, Trespasser, and Hardcore.
Hardcore?
Yeah,
Hardcore. Fucking sick. September 1st.
Yeah, excited for that one with Ghost House. We're trying to also write, like I said, we're writing something new, and hopefully like do a demo, maybe show some new stuff. But like, for sure, we're also excited like what the future holds. Like you know, like I said, it took us a while to get to where we're at, but as soon as we like finally figure out like how everything is like, I guess as soon as we find our path, like yeah, like everything else is just falling into pieces, and then from there on it's like how far we could like push ourselves more to the public, to the music, to the scene.
Hell yeah. Like I said, it's like, just getting started, and y'all are literally about to just
and also
do some crazy shit.
I want to say like very grateful and blissful, like all the people we've met, like all the response we're getting, like I'm really grateful, and like it does make me happy, because especially me, like I'm very critique of myself, and you know, especially when I'm passionate about something, but like to hear somebody be like, dude, your vocals rocks, your music, like hell yeah, like it really does mean a lot to me, just because like again it's been, you know, years, like especially Ian and Nick started this like like from the very beginning. So I'll ask them too, I was like, man, like so how do y'all think, how like, you know, da 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 da, they're like, yeah, like not what we expected, but very like, you know, grateful, very honored that like it is going to like even better than we thought, basically. So
Heck yeah. So, and I think again, like I know like just getting started, y'all will be back.
NoiseNite, thank you NoiseNite for the shows and all everything.
I'm sure we're gonna have y'all on a bunch of fucking
all y'all are the homies, all of y'all. So yeah, very grateful.
We're just trying to do cool shit with cool people, and y'all are definitely some cool ass people. But again, thank you guys for stopping by. This has been episode 7. This is act 77 with
77 and a half
with CutthroatTX. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. We will see you next time.
Thank you so much. Thank you, man.
Sounds and breakdowns.